Asante. So I'm talking to people, if you like big words, prayer warriors, um, or whichever other description I'm talking to. And I guess if you are really in prayer, you must believe in God. We will be looking at a person who walks with the Lord is assured living a life of contentment. Unfortunately, many people do not have contentment. Contentment can be seen in three ways. Number one, a sense that what you have is adequate. You may not have much, but you're very, very aware that even what you have is adequate for the purpose. Number two, a sense in which you believe that because God is the one who has given you what you have, and He knows you, He knows it will be adequate. You believe it's adequate, and know God says it will be adequate. Because of that sense of adequacy, you feel like God loves me and cares about me. Therefore, all my needs, with the little I have or the much I have, will actually be met. That sense is a very important sense in the issues of contentment. And that's why you know very well that many people are rich, but without contentment. Many people are poor, but without contentment. So contentment has nothing to do with riches or poverty. You can be rich and without contentment. You can be poor without contentment. Therefore, indicating is not there. And I was really in shock when reading the book of Philippians. And then Paul says that he has learned the secret of contentment. The word learn means a process. You know, Paul has met the Lord. Paul knows the Lord. But he has said it's contentment was not automatic. It is something he needed to learn. It was a process. It therefore means even among us who are born again, have seen the miracles of God, maybe we do not live a life of contentment. Like Paul, we need a process of learning. Number two, Paul calls it a secret. It means it has to be discovered. It's not something open there for anybody to pick. You have to ask yourself and search, what process do I need in order to arrive at contentment? So that word secret caused me to wonder. But thirdly and importantly, because he calls it the secret, he has learned the secret of contentment. It then means that if you really want to live a life of contentment, you must search for that secret. And that's what we are spending time today and the next 3 days on. My understanding of scriptures is that one of the major causes of lack of contentment is inability to have work-life balance, a balanced life. Without a balanced life, you will not have contentment. You know, much of life is a question of maintaining a balance. You fail to maintain a balance and you fall, and you not have contentment. Ever heard of the story of the clever fool? We are told that clever fool took all the 110 minutes in a 2-hour exam to answer the first question. And when 10 minutes were remaining, is when he realized he has another 4 questions to do. And in the process, we were frantic. So in the 10 minutes, trying to do the other 4 questions, he could hardly make any sense. He therefore got full marks on question number 1, but hardly anything in question number 2. And because you're talking about 100%, it was 20 marks per question. So he got a full 20, 1 in the other ones. So he got less than 25%. And the grade he therefore got was an E, a total failure. But let's be clear. This is an A grade child, an A grade student. But because He was not clever. He ended up frustrated, and his life came to ruin because of not understanding the importance of balance. Importance of balance is you first of all find out how many questions you have in life. Then you make sure every question is allocated time. If you miss this secret, you'll be in trouble. A lot of people, the question they're answering is professional progression. They are doing very well, very well in their careers. They are getting promotion above promotion. Their business is going from one level to the other level. Within no time, they are billionaires. But in the other questions, like the question of marriage, couple, they don't even think about it. And it's not that they are refusing. They have no time for it. The question of being parents, again, they are not refusing. So they take even their primary school children to boarding. Why? Because they have no time. Only to discover those children are growing, but they are not their children. The DNA can prove they are their children, but they have different values from the parents' values because they did not get any contact, detailed contact with the parents. So you have a zero on the question of couple relationship. You have zero on the question of parents. Then in your private, personal, quiet time, a zero. You are so busy in your professional life that you have zero in your reaching out to God, what we call personal, systematic, quiet time. You are unable. You have family altar. You have time to pray as a family because you are a Christian family. But you as a woman or you as a man never set a time on a daily basis to actually meet the Lord. On that one, you have a need. And then obviously, on the issues of ministry, what are you doing to extend God's kingdom? You have a zero. And like the famous clever fool, clever but a fool, you have your professional career is a straight A. But an A in one question out of 5, obviously is equal to an E overall. And when you discover, especially if you get to my age, I'm in my 70s, and you look back and see what a mess your life is, you have a very difficult old age. Discontented what you did and realizing it's too late to actually correct. For example, at our age, children are not around you, and the grandchildren only comes once in a while. So whatever errors you failed to have when they were young cannot be corrected. It's too late. Or others, you are not available and your children were preteens. They become teenagers. You want to correct it by being available. But your son wonders, what is wrong with you? I'm okay. All I need from you is school fees. And because you never develop a relationship with the children when they are young, you now as teenagers, all they need to as far as your son is concerned, you are a bank. Mom, give me some money. This idea of trying to be friends, you are a mother, you are old, there's an age gap, whatever. Now, you can see, overall, you end up a clever fool. And the moment you realize how foolish you are, you cannot have contentment. And where did you lose your contentment? When you became a clever fool. By not having a life with balance. Concentrating on one thing, forgetting the other. That's one. Others, actually, they spend all their time in church. On the issue of ministry, they have a clear A. But in terms of their professional life, the employer is thinking of how to fire you because you basically are not earning your salary. You are receiving a free gift. He can't see how you are contributing. So you are living a life under the risk of being fired. And however much you are doing ministry, you feel, if I'm fired, I may be to blame. Given the last appraisal, I actually am not doing well. And the moment you start owning up that it's you that has failed to work well, no wonder you're getting fired, no wonder your business is collapsing, you will not be able to sleep at night. Yet your ministry angle is doing very, very, very well. Others, it is they are interested in being a couple. They spend time together. They are in love, honeymoon, continuously. In the process, all the other questions are not answered. Their children are not regarded as important. After all, they care for one another. And so in the process, everything, they get a nay. Oh, they are in love. They have been married for 5 years and it's just wonderful. The two of them, they understand each other, they care for each other, they are progressing very well. But in the other questions, whether it is their professional life, or it is their parenting life, or it is their ministry, or it is their personal quiet time, they suffer. Because they can't see why. All they know they care about is the relationship. Not understanding the call of God is wider than being a couple. It's a call. You must give it good attention, but it's not the only thing. The clever fool forgot all 5 questions mattered if he was to pass the exam. The clever fool among us always end up doing 2 things and forgetting the other 3, or doing these things and forgetting the other 2. And in the process, at the moment you realize how things are going wrong, despite you enjoying one area, when you give attention to where you have failed, you cannot enjoy contentment. And it will be important for you to ask yourself, is that something you are doing? Is that something you are? Is that what you are? My friend, today I wanted to emphasize that it will not be possible for you to have contentment, irrespective of which one of them you are lacking. Work-life balance. But I don't like calling it work-life balance. I like calling it work-ministry family balance. Because some of you simply have no ministry at all. You may be involved in prayer, but you cannot talk of anything you are doing either to bring people to Christ or to disciple those who are in Christ. So you are giving attention to work, you are giving attention to family, whether it's children or spouse, but you are not giving any attention in this particular area. So you need to ask yourself, work, yes, ministry, yes, or about family? It is very important that you ask yourself, am I dealing with this in a balanced way or not? And I hope you are not finding it difficult to agree with me that you cannot live out of balance and be happy. You'll be happy one moment and happy the next. Overall, you feel a failure, and the moment you accept you're a failure, there is no sense of contentment. And remember, in all these matters, I'm not saying you compare yourself to somebody else. The grading system does not apply to all people. So I'm not telling you how many minutes you use in one question or the other. But you must tackle all questions adequately. So I am not telling you to copy me. But you yourself, between you and God, you must check your life to find out whether there is an area of life which is actually undersupplied with the time. And in the process, you could have been doing better than you're actually doing. So allocation of time to various issues. But of course, the first thing is to be aware all the 5 questions exist. If you misread the question and the question paper, the introduction to the question paper saying these are 7 questions, answer any 5. Obviously, you think one question is enough. So that's why we are spending time these 3 days saying, what are the questions of life? And all the 5 questions I've noted here are important questions. They are all part of the call. If you read my book on a leader's source of influence, I try to talk about the various 7 areas. I actually divided it to 7 areas. And I call it the 7-fold call. The God who calls you to ministry is the one who calls you to be a parent. It's the one who calls you to be a spouse. It's the one who calls you. All of them are calls. And when the day of reckoning comes, God will not look at one. It's a sevenfold call. And the question will be, did you actually answer the call? Answering one without the other will not help. You must, for you to be a success and to have contentment, you need to look at all of them. Look at Philippians chapter 4, verse 11 and 12, so that you get the words I gave in the introduction. Not that I speak in respect of want, for I have learned. That keyword learned means a process, means an effort. In whatever state I am, whatever state means I'll be in all kinds of states, sometimes in happy times, sometimes in difficult times, sometimes in want, sometimes in plenty. Whatever state I am, I have no excuse not to be contented. I may be in a hospital bed, but contented. I may have just won an Olympic medal, but I'm contented. Do you know you can win an Olympic medal, but because you did not hit the time you wanted, you can't sleep at night. You need to learn whatever the state. That's what they say. I have learned in whatever state. Whatever state means there is no time you have excuse not to be contented. Therewith to be contented. That's a very important lesson. Now, in explaining that statement, Paul goes on to say, I know both how to be abased. How to be abased means to lack, to be in trouble, for things to be wrong. Sometimes your husband misunderstands you. Do you learn how to be contented despite being misunderstood by your spouse? That is what we are calling abased. Sometimes your children are obedient, sometimes they are not obedient. Sometimes they are doing well in school, sometimes they are not doing well in school. Have you learned in that condition of being abased to still have a sense of contentment? Sometimes I can pay all my bills. Sometimes I'm struggling. I'm in debt. That is what we're calling abased. And I know how to abound. How to abound means how to have plenty. Things to go well. By the way, when I first read this one, I wondered, I can understand why you need a learning process to know how to be contented in a hospital bed. But on your wedding day, why is it a process? He is saying he has had to learn how to be contented when he is abounding, when he has plenty, when he has success. That tells you it's possible for things to be going well, but you have no contentment. Both of them require a process. He goes on to say, everywhere and in all things. So he is talking about every condition. He is talking about abased or inbound. Then he is now using the word everywhere. So you can't say when I'm at home, I'm contented. When I'm at work, I'm not contented. When I'm out of the country, I'm contented. When I'm in my village, I'm not contented. Everywhere, he learned how to be contented. Number two, not just everywhere, in all things. So there isn't any one of the items you haven't done well enough to be contented, irrespective of the results. In fact, he says, I am instructed both to be full and to be hungry, both to abound and to serve a need. It doesn't matter which condition. Now you can tell then it is certainly a learning process. The first and critical point is, having learned the first problem and secret, is to learn how to be in balance. The second secret is to become a steward. Who is a steward? A steward is a person who manages what somebody else owns. You have a shaba in the village and you employ your cousin to run it for you and you pay him a salary. He's just a steward. He can't start behaving like the land is yours. You cannot come one day and you left with the cows, but he sold the cows and bought pigs. You'll fire him because it's not his land. He can't do with his land whatever he wants, with the land whatever he wants. He has to ring you in Nairobi and say, hey, these cows are not bringing money. Can we change to pigs? If you say yes, well and good. A steward is a person who manages another person's property. And the best example I normally have is of a bank manager. He may be looking at a bank worth 100 billion. That means he can sign a check, a banker's check of a billion shillings, and the check will not bounce. However, on that same day, he has signed a billion shillings check to somebody, to a business, and it didn't bounce. He has been asked to go home with the milk by the wife, only to check from his pocket and he has no money. He arrives home to say, darling, we are going to take coffee alone here because I had no money. How can you have no money in your bank manager? Because the money in the bank is not my money. It belongs to shareholders and customers. I touch it and there'll be a scandal. So I operate as a poor man despite the fact that I'm in charge of billions. That's what it means to be a steward. You must know this idea of stewardship. Understand and accept that all that you erroneously call your own is not yours. It actually belongs to God. So your life is God's life. Your property is God's property. Your children are God's children. Your wife is God's child. You own absolutely nothing. That's what it means to be born again. Originally, as a non-Christian, you are in charge of your life. You get born again and you surrender absolutely everything to God and become a steward. And because now everything belongs to God, he takes responsibility over your life to guide you and to show you how you should manage it. And that's that part of the secret people miss. The other day I was speaking in a university somewhere out of Nairobi, and on my way back, one of the staff asked me whether I can give them a lift. Once they were in my car, they said, I've been wanting to talk to you. I'm very unhappy with one of the titles of your books. I said, which one? Finding a life partner. I said, what don't you like about the title? I want to choose. You are single. I want to choose my life partner. I don't want to find. I want to choose. I said, you are not aware that the last choice a Christian makes is the choice of Christ. After that, he does not choose. Instead, he asks the Lord, Lord, is this the guy I should marry? If the Lord says, no, you don't, he says, Lord, is this the job I should take? If he says, no, you don't, Lord, should I buy a red car or a green car? Whatever he says, you lost the power of choice. Christianity means being guided by the Lord. You are simply a steward. And the master decides. You can see clearly, pigs will do better. But you can't just sell cows and take pigs. Your life belongs to another. And I think that's a very important. When you accept that God is the real owner of all you claim to have, your life changes on many counts. For example, your body. You can't spoil your body. That's why you cannot become a drunkard. Because it's not your body. There are things you can't eat. There are things, something you can't do with your body. Because it's not yours. You cannot sleep with a woman who is not your wife. It's your body, but it's God's body. And he has said his body cannot be involved in sexual immorality. So you feel like doing something, but the owner of the body does not allow you. So don't do it. And the moment you accept the Lordship of Christ, it starts giving you what Paul was calling that ability to enjoy the condition. Because the moment the owner of the land has told you to keep cows, you'll be happy to keep the cows because that will please the owner. And you're a steward to please the owner. Somehow, you'll be happy. Other people are saying, no, we have moved to pigs. No, my boss wants cows. So I'm happy to keep cows for him. The same way you have your life. For you to understand this secret, you must surrender in totality the running of your life to God. Stewardship in relationship is the secret of contentment. A steward, I have just said, is a person who manages another person's property. The relationship determines the quality of your life. So how you relate with the people in your next of kin depends on how you take them. If vertical relationship is okay, that's between you and the owner, you can live happily even with the most difficult crowd. You can be in a group that is discontented totally. But because your relationship with God is okay, the owner is okay, and you realize it's the one who has put you in this particular difficult place, somehow you have a sense of God knows. And you're at peace despite everybody else fighting. Can you imagine a home in which the husband is committed to being a good steward of the wife, of the children, and the wife is also committed to being a good steward of the husband and the children? Can you imagine the joy that will be in that home? Because you realize this man, my husband, is not mine to do whatever I want. God has given me this man. How I look after him, even he himself, it doesn't even say thank you. The one who gave me the job, it will be happy with me. And since I'm owned by him, who also owns my husband, if I treat him well, he'll be happy. I'll be at peace. Even when he is thankless man. He is not even worth loving. He is not worth serving. But I'm not serving him for his sake. I'm only a steward. I was put in this marriage as a steward. So I'll be at peace. Even when I'm not getting the attention from my spouse that I should be having. I'll do him good, even when he doesn't do me any good. Because I'm not doing good because he deserves it. I'm doing good because he belongs to Christ. And that's a difficult thing. That's why contentment is so difficult. Because we feel like it's tit for tat. There's a marriage where they say it's 50-50. That's not a Christian marriage. A Christian marriage is 100-100. That means that marriage can last with one party happily in it, despite the other one contributing absolutely nothing to that marriage. Because you are doing it to please God. You are doing it to honor God. Can you picture such a place? So you can see in terms of relationship are the ones that cause the biggest hurt. When you hear people are not enjoying the workplace, it's not the work. It's the people they work with and their working atmosphere. So if you can learn how to take people with this stewardship responsibility, you'll be at peace with very difficult people. It's a pity that the subject of stewardship, for example, in marriage and at work, is not given much attention. Every time people speak about stewardship, they are talking about money. They don't realize this stewardship issue is understanding that everything you call your own is erroneous. It's actually not your own. Because by getting saved, you handed everything you own into God's hands. And you can see what that will mean to your own life. Every time you speak about stewardship, remember it's not just about money. It's about every aspect of your life. Many people give money, but end up being bad stewards of other areas. They tithe. In fact, they don't tithe. They tithe. They give 20%. So they look like they are very good on the money issues. What about your time? What about your family? When you go to your home, you discover that you are a total mess to your spouse and to your children. Yet on the issues of money, you are quite good. So you must go wider than that. So stewardship is actually a very, very, very important issue. Let me give you 3 things that make you have contentment because you have discovered the secret of stewardship. The moment you're a steward and you understand the issue of stewardship, you never suffer from superiority complex. You don't suffer from pride. How does pride come? When you realize you are richer than me, you are proud. When you realize you are the richest cousin in your grandfather's family, you become very proud. But when you discover that what you own is not yours, it belongs to God, you will never see again. You will never suffer from pride, because you are given more than your cousin is given, but it's God who gives to all. So you can't suffer from pride. And you know something? Pride is the one that is the spoiler of the relationship. If you marry a wife who is proud, who keeps saying, I don't know why I married you. You know, what did you contribute for getting this house? What did you contribute? How much school fees do you actually pay? She has taken that her higher salary than her husband is her own. That way she is terrorizing her husband. You know, you are driving in the vehicle. Then she says, by the way, I can ask you to leave this car. You know, I paid 60% for this car. You only paid 40%. I can return the 40% to you. Can you imagine our husband who lives with such a woman? I think it will be important to understand that once pride disappears, you don't talk down to people. You recognize God has been good to you, and his goodness to you is so that you can also be good to others. People who are steward never suffer from pride, because they understand the gifts they have are simply that, a gift from God, a favor from God. So, and can you imagine, if you learn how to treat everybody without pride, young and old, rich and poor, won't relate with you. And within no time, everywhere you are, you will be at peace. Many people in their place of work are treated very high because of their performance and their seniority. Wait until they retire. And because people are respecting you because of your grade, you will suffer in retirement, because you thought there is something special with you. A steward never suffers from pride. And pride is the biggest problem, and actually the biggest cause of lack of contentment. When you have pride, you can't relate well with people because you think they are too junior to you, too weak for you, or too poor for you. When you have pride, you get very easily hurt when people don't seem to recognize that. In fact, those are the people who will pull your nose and ask you, do you know who I am? So somehow you get hurt very easily by people not recognizing how senior, how big, how rich you are. And because some people are not even aware, and some people don't even care about your wealth. They just say, hello, John. Say, I'm not hello, John. You remember, you should call me sir, professor, call me something, but you can't just call me John. Who are you to call me John? Now, the person calling you did not mean any harm, but you go home totally unhappy. What is causing unhappiness? Your pride, thinking you are special. So when you have pride, it affects your own inner peace. Thirdly, when you suffer from pride, not only do you expect to be treated, a sense of entitlement, don't you expect to be treated in a special way, but you keep not just talking to people badly, but you treat them badly. And the return is they only do what they must do, no more than that. So even in terms of working as a supervisor, you have a very difficult supervision job, because people will become like wheelbarrows. They have to be carried. They are not motivated because of your pride. When you have no pride, it's very easy to be a team player. And so people enjoy working with you. People want to work with you. Nobody wants to leave your department. And you at home go at peace, because your workplace is at peace and your home is at peace. Because even when they are toxic people, within no time, they stop being toxic, because they realize it takes two to tango, and you're not available for the tango. Can you see how it will give you contentment? The second thing that you learn when you when you understand stewardship, you never suffer from inferiority complex. What is inferiority complex? It's a sense of feeling inadequate, feeling like you don't measure up. When you want to go for, somebody says, "Might buy you lunch." "Oh, but you know, I'm useless. I can't eat that." And even when you go for lunch, you are so intimidated. You can't enjoy lunch. These are people with a poor self-image. When you become a steward, your self-image is God loves you, God cares for you, and the little He has given you is adequate. Like we said during our introduction, you feel happy with what God has given. You are working hard, very hard, so that you honor God, but you know very well how you progress will also be determined by God's favor. So in the little you have, you are at peace. You know, sometimes, at least for the last 50 years, I've been speaking one place or the other. But I've been invited in rich people's clubs to give dinner talks. And you got one and you feel like, how did I end up here? If only they knew the car I coming to this hotel, they will not allow me to talk to them. And you start feeling intimidated until you realize, I'm a steward of God's gift. And there's something in me that these rich people require. And yet God has given me a message. I'll give the talk. By the time I'm standing to give the talk, I have no discontentment, no fear, no inferiority complex, because I know they may be richer, but there's something God has given me they don't have. So I'm at peace. People who are stewards believe so-and-so have been given more by God, but he himself is not more. So-and-so has been given less by God, but he himself is not less. You are not the things you possess. Like the rich fool who was told, a man's life does not consist in the things he possesses. And that night, he died, if you know the story. He had said, whoa, let's expand the bands. I'm so rich, I can't know where to place the things that I have. He was told, you fool. So when you become a steward, you no longer feel that sense of inferiority complex. You're at peace. You can talk to the president. As you said, the president is a steward of the country. You're a steward of your family. You are both stewards. So you will not be intimidated by his presence, because you see him as being allocated the duty of being president, and you allocated the duty of being a husband. And you relate with each other. So you are at peace and you have contentment because of this idea about a steward. You know, one of the things that gets people into real trouble is the issue of feeling that because they have more money, they are now okay. In fact, sometimes you can tell which time of the month it is by just watching your husband. When it's a new month, the salary is in the bank, he comes jolly. By the time it is around 22, 23rd, the guy is coming unhappy. You say, have you had a bad day? No. His joy rises and falls with the bank account. His joy is tied to money. And when that happens, your joy will rise and fall with the money. What about if you are to divorce your life from money? Understanding that either without money, God is the provider. That's why we call him providence. He can provide such that there's no money in the bank account, but your student's school fees has been paid. He can provide such that there's no money in the bank account, somebody has dropped some food you can eat. All your needs are being met despite not having any money, because your provision does not come from your employer or from money. Philippians 4:19 is saying, and my God shall supply not some, but all your needs according, not your riches, but God's riches in glory. So this spirit of contentment is when you realize your life does not depend on the money you have. It depends on the God, the giver. So it gives you a sense that the situation may be difficult, but the situation is still under God's control, and he knows what he is doing.